Perfect. I think that's a very nice start to the day. Welcome everyone to Wireframed 2024. It's our annual event. We have around 150 people here on a Saturday morning, and I'm glad to host you guys. I will start with some basics, just for housekeeping. It's very important. I know you are all new to the space, but I'll start with some very basics, starting with my name maybe. But uske pehle I will show you a few slides. I'll start with something which we call as technical difficulties. And with every event we do, or all the events that takes place, without this, it's incomplete. It's almost like घर खरीदने के लिए गाड़ी छोड़ते हो, right? So we place this जानबूझ के so that our event is good. But first things first, sound check. I hope people at the back can hear me very clearly. Thumbs up. Perfect. Second thing I would like to check is, can you see this image?
Yes.
Is it too small? Is this fine?
Yes.
You guys are chill. Washrooms are on the ground floor, which is above. You have it near the entrance, on the left and right. But yeah, now I'll talk about the main thing, which is me. I'm Suraj. I'm the community advocate at FOF Mumbai. I have been here since the last 1.5 years. We have done a lot of events. I have met a few of you. Always been a good time. But this is not my full time though. There's a lot of rumors here full time, but nahi hai. I have my job. I am a lead product designer at this AI startup called FoodReady. It's a US-based startup. Before FoodReady, I was working at Fractal Analytics for 3 years. And before that, I was at L&T Infotech for 3 years. So, before that, I was a computer engineer, so I just converted. And I know for a fact कि यहाँ पे काफी लोग हैं जो engineering से design में आए. So I relate with your journeys. So yeah. So there are a few things which you can chat to me about. Does anyone here follow football? Raise your hands. Any United fans in the house? I feel bad for you. We lost. But we are in a very interesting phase right now with our new manager. Any Formula One fans in the house? Any Lewis Hamilton fans in the house? Perfect. We'll chat later. Again, another interesting phase after end of the season. Communities, of course, has been very close to my heart, and FOF is definitely a very good example. And storytelling, especially because I have been a writer at some point. So if you are someone who likes to speak a lot about storytelling, hit me up. But I think it's the best time for shout-outs. Of course, I have to give these guys a shout-out for making these events possible. A huge round of applause for Figma. Venue partner Find, a huge shout-out to Siddhika and team who has made this possible. They have been of a lot of support. So huge round of applause to Find. Last but not the least, the set of people who have been losing their sleep since the last few weeks. This is the team we have, beautiful set of talented people. We have been working on this event since the last 2 months, and today it's almost like a dream come true when we'll see all of this coming into reality. We have planned a lot of things. So again, round of applause for these set of guys. This is a stat which I am proud of a lot personally because a lot of our events, there's a lot of people attending. For this event, this is a 150 people event. We got 650 registrations for this in like 3 or 4 days. But this time we were sure that a lot of people here should be new. They are experiencing an FOF event for the first time. And this is one of our highest numbers yet. So the plan is to keep this momentum going. I know for a fact that और भी लोग हैं who want to experience this. So the aim is to keep it inclusive and open as much as possible. So since 61% of you are new here, I have to do this again. This is something which I do in all events. I will explain a bit about what FOF Mumbai is. So it's the official Figma affiliated community. For stats, we have 220 FOFs worldwide and 17 FOFs in India alone. So as you see, it's not a small community, it's a huge community out there. And what we decided is, since Spotify launched its wrap, we'll also do our own wrap. So this is almost like a recap of sorts of how 2024 was for us. I know a lot of Spotify users wait for the Spotify wrap till the end, only for one artist to always sneak in at the final moment. Do you know who I am speaking about? It's actually Pritham. And I actually don't know how he sneaks in every time, but he's always there. But yeah, I'll start with our version of FOF Mumbai Rewind. We did a total of 6 in-person events, including this one. We started in March with the Summer Design Meetup. That event had 99% of people who were attending an event for the first time. We launched a new series called Meet Jam. Meet Jam is a set of casual networking events wherein we don't have any speakers or such. It's more like a chill environment where you can network and play games. We did 2 versions, one in Starbucks Thane and in Tulali Andheri. So we did 2 versions. We'll be announcing the 3rd version very soon. We put up a poll and we have got some interesting results on where it should be next. June, we did the Config 2024 watch party, one of our usual ones, wherein we got a lot of people at Fractal. July was interesting with Design Vichar. We collaborated with Fellow for a 2-day event. And then this is the 6th event, the biggest of them all. We also partnered with other communities. Throughout the year, we were at GDC Tech Fest, which happened. We gave a small presentation on how you can build communities. May, we collaborated with Fellow and Design Mix for the Designathon. And September, we were at KJ Somya for a Figma workshop. We also did virtual events. We did a Figma to Lottie workshop in August, collaborating with Lottie Files. And in October, we did a small design thinking session with IIT India. So that's how the year looks for us. As you can start reading, we have been active almost every damn month. So are we going to take a break in Jan? No, we'll continue. But this is a slide which I'm personally very proud of. We have been grinding throughout the year. And that's why we have got some impact as well. When we started back in June, we were way below. At a 10. No one was talking about Mumbai's design community at all. It was dead. So we felt, yeah, galat hai. Like everything goes to a few cities in the south. So we decided it's time to change it. And now we are at the top. Numbers are just for ensuring we are on the right path. And we plan to keep on doing the good work. Not only at an India level, but at a global level as well. We are currently 4th worldwide. And I'm more proud of the fact that out of the top 10, we have 4 FOFs from India alone. So that kind of states how huge the design community there is in India and the potential it withholds. If you want to know more about FOF Mumbai, you have your wristbands. There is a small QR code I have stick there. So you can scan, but after this keynote. I will now hand it over to Rishabh, who is the other community lead. So huge round of applause for him.
Hey folks, thank you so much for being here. Once again, welcome to Wireframed 2024. You all look so beautiful and so intimidating to me right now. Alright, so again, I'm Rishabh, community lead of FOF Mumbai. And I work as a lead product designer at Internal Reading, where I mostly work on AI and gamification products. And I usually find it easy to explain myself to other people when I show them my Spotify rap. 85 minutes, that's not a small thing, okay? Don't ask me how I got there, but you know. Uh, so yeah, first of all, also thank you to Suraj for taking us through this journey of FOF Mumbai, how it started and where we are today. But you know what? I wanna zoom out. I know you all love FOF Mumbai, that's where you are, but I wanna look at design industry as a whole. So how about we do a quick design rewind of the year? And don't worry, no boring parts, full of memes, lot of laughter. All right then. So let's get started. I think the biggest highlight of the year was Figma's AI design feature. They call it first draft. We call it our 13th reason. But yeah, but it is here to stay, and we are very excited for it. We are right. And can you please have some hands up of how many of you have tried it and are actually happy about it? Anyone? Okay, I think you're safe then. No, not a single hand. Is it not released report? But anyways, okay, it's in beta. Only very special people have access to it. Okay, but yeah. Next, we also got slides. Now you can create presentations in Figma. You no longer have to just attach your uh, Figma designs and convert it into a prototype. It's all simple and streamlined right now. How many of you have used it or tried it at least? Okay, quite a few people. And how many of you actually like it? Very good. That's what I was expecting. We tried it and it was a chaos, and we never use it again for our presentation. But yeah, um, things get better. I hope so. Next up, what the hell is this? It's called UI or something. I call it. No, never mind. Okay, but this is something that they have released, probably one of the most controversial changes of Figma. Some people are not happy about it, saying that this is their muscle memory isn't, they cannot efficiently work because they have built a muscle memory with the old UI. But yeah, things are changing, and there are many reasons companies, change their design system and transform their UI. So yeah, I think it's time for us to also take a step back and rethink about how we ourselves design products. I'm in favor of it, by the way. So yeah. Next up, we had this year we saw a lot of AI products rise and then fall to tremendous depth. So these are some of the most popular examples. We can see human AI and rabbit, yeah, rabbit, whatever. But yeah, so how many of you have heard about it? How many of you actually will buy it? Okay, no one, right? Yeah, the pricing is ridiculous. Oh my god. All right. Next up, we have Apple, the leader of innovation, the top tier company for any designer. Okay, they delivered something nobody else can. Okay, a breakthrough in the innovation in so many years. They call it Apple Intelligence. I'm pretty sure that's very original concept. You cannot rip it off, right? It's pretty original concept after all. And you know what it can do? It can change text. It can create images. Oh my god, those capabilities! And all that for 1.5 lakhs. That's cheap, right? I mean, it's not like ChatGPT is $20 and it can do all of that. Okay? Please understand the pricing parity over here. All right. Going forward, we had Adobe Max where they released some really impressive features. Not gonna lie. But we are product designers. We don't care about Adobe, right? How many of you love Adobe? I'm gonna haunt you, everyone. Okay, everyone who raised their hands, I'm gonna hunt you down today. But yeah, no hard feelings. But it's not like they have any beef with Figma. But yeah, Adobe did some good things, and excited to see what's they're coming with next. Next, we had this beautiful, amazing, gender-defining rebranding by people. I mean, look at this beauty. Look at this, okay? Don't tell me this is not the most beautiful logo you've ever seen in your life. Okay, it's not like you just go on paint and create it over there. Okay, this is original stuff. Okay, this can building. Okay, maybe minimum. Okay, so yeah, and if this is something, okay, this is something I can still live with. I can still breathe. Okay, hope to see another day. This monstrosity. Don't you tell me. Don't you tell me. This is. Don't. I don't want to be offensive, NSFW, please. But how many of you like it? No one, right? Okay, so we have very smart people in here with very high IQs. Amazing. Okay, our average IQ is going above. It's mostly because I'm getting smarter, I guess. Yeah. So this was one thing that happened. Sam Altman, as always, have taken oath to make sure all of us lose our jobs. Okay, come on the road and probably use ChatGPT to do everything we want. Okay, but yeah, man, shout out to my man. Let's give him a round of applause. I hope he's watching. I hope he's at. I said round of applause. Oh, fantastic. All right then. And remember, we got all of that GTS. Yeah, man, like, I'm just thinking, what are we doing wrong? Designers. What are we going through? It just feels like our life and career are all over the place, you know? Like, but anyways, you know, it doesn't feel, okay? It feels like designers are creating these smaller communities of thoughts, okay? And they're protecting it. People who created those designs that we just saw are really obsessed over it, okay? They will protect them. So I think we all are losing the share, understanding we are all developing very niche taste, which is a good thing to have as a designer. But yeah, it also scares a little bit to make you think that you might not be doing the right thing, okay? And it's sometimes scary, I'm not gonna lie. It scares me a lot to see what the future is gonna be and what we have to look forward to. But the thing is, there is hope, there's still hope, and for a lot of reasons. The first thing is job market is correcting itself. The layoffs have dropped, job postings have increased, so things are getting back to normal and coming here will be full of opportunities for all of you. And this is forcing us as designers to adapt, to get better. The designers are learning new skills like business, coding, developing engineering empathy. Can you believe that? Oh my God. And even motion design. So, and they are seeking out help. They are not confined to their own workspace, just reaching out and seeking to help. And which is a better place than FOF Mumbai to find the support systems or find those people to help you in your career. So yeah, good job at each and every one of you to be here, and everyone who cannot be here but who applied, who wanted to be here. So yeah, kudos to you all. Maybe let's give a small round of applause for all of you. Lovely. All right, guys. Like I mentioned, hard times lead to real development, and it is happening. And not to mention, today we have an amazing lineup of speakers from many cities joining us today and going to give you some real insights into how they do the things and what they think about the future. Okay? And if you still have any anxiety left within you, okay, remember, by the time you walk out, you'll be so much better. You'll be so much better. You'll walk out with a lot of new friends, walk out with a lot of new hopes for the future. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to what you guys do in future. I'll just take you through agenda one last time. So we are almost at the end of opening keynote. Next up, we'll be having our first panel, the leadership panel. And then we'll have a lunch break. We have a fun activity. Maybe we'll do it, maybe we'll not. Depends on how much time we have left. But yeah, and then we'll have back-to-back two presentations. Another short break for all of you. And a special announcement. What could that be? But yes, creators panel. And again, if you are still hungry, we'll have a works. Definitely. And a networking session for all of you. Then we'll do some curated networking and play some games. And then we'll have a final closing keynote. And you can meet the speakers, you can ask them questions, you can take some pictures with them. And at the end, we'll wrap up. So yeah, guys, are you excited about this? Are you looking forward? Yes. Awesome, oh my god. Take it good, take it good. Alright then, I won't hold you any longer. And I'll quickly give the stage to SMG so we can take forward the event with our first panel. We'll start in 5 minutes. Thank you very much.
She keeps me calm, yeah. When I feel trouble, got me feeling anxious so hard, yeah. You get me started on the way you move. Watching it so painful, watching it so painful. After this, I'm breaking up through my feelings. Slowly breathing, slowly please, please, go through the night. Yeah, I said I can't sleep, please.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the leadership panel at Wireframe 2024. I'm Sriraman MG, co-founder at Find, and I'm going to be the moderator for this session. Joining me in this panel this afternoon are Shreya Shah. She is currently design principal at Fractal. Before that, she was head of design at Vistaprint. In fact, her career goes a long way back to 2002, and she has done everything from print, branding, UI, UX to design strategy. She loves to plan and schedule things and doesn't like to get caught off guard. But her idea of fun is actually bungee jumping, which she has done like twice in her life. Welcome, Shreya.
Thank you. I just stand for the benefit of
To her right is Jay Hasija. Jay is currently Director of Product Design at Nykaa. Prior to that, he has worked at Direct Eye and Book My Show. He has over 12 plus years experience in the industry. Jay is also an adrenaline junkie. He did Ironman in 2022 in Goa, and he's even driven an F3 car in Dubai. Welcome, Jay.
Thank you guys. Thank you everyone. Good to have this conversation, being absolutely great with you all. I hope you're excited. Where's the energy? I need to see the energy. I'm shouting over this. Yes, thanks. Keep up the back seats, please. Okay, thanks.
And to his right is Sangeeta Vaishya, currently AVP Product Designer at Dream11, and she has been with Dream11 for the past 5 years. And there she's currently leading the core gameplay along with the content design team. She holds another very interesting title at Dream11. She is the reigning female arm wrestling champion at Dream11. And she has another fun fact. She was also witness to the last time Manchester United beat Manchester City. Welcome, Sangeeta.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
Very excited to have all of you in the panel today. Now, before I start, I have been told in no uncertain terms by the panelists that let's not talk about AI, or at least let's not talk too much about AI. There have been many panel discussions on the topic, and it's sort of started getting to the territory where it is becoming slightly repetitive. But for me, personally, as an entrepreneur, AI pretty much represents a massive inflection point in our industry. The future of work, and especially the future of design, is going to be heavily influenced by AI. And for me, that future sort of looks very exciting. Now, back when most of us started our careers, at least some of us started our careers, right? We started with print and graphics, and then the Web 2.0 revolution came. Then iPhone, mobile apps became the thing. So, something new keeps happening in the industry every 5-6 years. And it is as exciting to be a designer today as it was, I think, when I started off. But I promise I won't talk much about AI. Now, let me start with getting the panelists' thought on what excites them today to be part of this industry and what are the big trends that you are seeing on where the design industry is headed. Let's start with Shreya.
Thanks, Shivam. So I think in terms of trends, right, AI is definitely the future, and I know it's the elephant in the room at this point because everyone is talking about how AI will take over the designer's job, but I feel like originality is underrated at this point. AI is definitely the future for sure as far as trends is concerned. I think in terms of the future of design, right, it's very, very bright from where I see it, and I've been about 20 years in the industry. I feel like design is right now having that seat at the table in boardrooms, in business conversations, where getting that ROI for every business. So I feel like don't shy away from being a part of those business conversations. I have been in the enterprise space for about 5 years now, and I think that design is mandatory to every problem solving that we're doing in Fractal right now. Just to sort of explain quantum, right? We're 5,000 at Fractal, or 5,000 plus, and design is 70, and we're practically asked for in every conversation. So I think business is heavily investing in design at this point. It's more about how do we show value right now. In fact, as far as trends is concerned, I think simplicity, right? Beauty with clarity, that's something I say a lot. Can you bring simplicity in anything that you do, right? Because there is so much complexity and volatility in any business right now. So can you bring that simplicity to the table? And another one as far as trends is concerned, I think which is very underrated is design writing. I feel like, can you articulate your thoughts really well? It's a big skill that is being looked at right now in the industry that I am in, and for sure is working for me and it's working for the team. I think everyone's investing heavily in how to make it better. Of course, there is ChatGPT, but to polish up whatever you're putting together. But can you write and articulate your thoughts well? I also use writing and the pen as a very efficient weapon to get my thoughts on paper, right? Because I think in the head it's all a muddle, but the minute you start putting it on paper, it starts getting clear.
Jay?
Well, I think if I have to say quick things about the whole ecosystem and moving forward with it, I have very different insights about things like, I would think about, say, today you have companies looking at design, as she said very rightly, there are people who are investing in design, you are strong forward, putting your head forward and talking about design. And a lot of business-driven companies, a lot of companies that are not very inclined to design are moving towards it, which is a very good factor. So I think you're in a good ecosystem in good space. Second thing is that what I always want to imagine design as mimicking reality into the digital world, and you guys have the strong positions to do so. So I think going forward, I think obviously the tech is advancing, you're getting all the features, etc., AI, whatever. But the idea is how to utilize that is in your hands, and you are the power of it. So the idea is to, say, example, you go out today, you drive a car, there's wireless driving now, you go out shopping, you have shopping apps right now. So the things that have issues and problems in today's simple lives of people. For example, everyone has. But show of hands, tell me how many people have history or something like that? How many of them? Everyone has that pressure. In the morning you get up. I mean, is there a way to simplify that? You don't have to get up in the morning. Can you deliver it directly to you? Can you come back and take it back with you? So those are very simple day-to-day life stuff. I think on those bases, you utilize the tech that's been advancing, and probably in design you can actually, you are the innovators to make that happen. So I think that's where I believe in that design going forward has great space, great knowledge, but the power lies in your hands and how quickly you can deal with whatever tech comes your way. Yeah.
Very interesting. So I'll just talk about, I have been part of product design from the beginning of my career, and I've actually seen this field evolve from pushing pixels to actually being the critical drivers of user experience and business growth. And this more or so have been like an integral part of me while I was in Dream11, and I've seen a shift where at Dream11 design used to report to the product head, and now we are actually a separate function, so we call it TPD, tech product design, and these three are equal stakeholders in building anything, right? So design has come a far long way where we hold a seat at the table, right? So I also come across people where they say, oh, we get requirements from product designers. So that is not something what happens at Dream 11. We co-create requirements along with product managers. We actually narrow down the problem, we identify the problem, ideate together, brainstorm, and then create a solution. So I feel today designers, at least in the space that I am, are not just designing but also thinking about business, also thinking about how their ideas, solutions can leverage technology at the same time solve business problems. Coming to AI, I think yes, all of us know AI is kind of the biggest trend, but I have not come across a scenario where AI has been able to replace any of our workflows as such. What I've seen is AI enhancing it, making it more efficient. Like for example, AI really helps in ideation, right? Really helps in quickly, if for example, the graphics team wants to ideate on certain things, you can give those prompts and you have a kind of composition that helps you kickstart your process. So it makes you more efficient, but I don't think it is at that junction where it can actually replace, because designers also come a lot with empathy, with user context, with business needs, and every product, every org has their own kind of ways of working, which I feel cannot be as is replicated from an AI tool and put to use. But that is like Jay said, I really agree with the fact that it's in your hands how you leverage that tool, how you leverage this technology to make the most of it. Another thing which is content, which I resonate with Shreya a lot. So I look at the content design function at Dream 11. What I've come across is that content design, which we also say, let's say UX writing, right, or localization, these are some of the things that always come as an afterthought, right? So designs are done, and now we need to get the content ready. So this always has an impact, because I don't think design can work without content being part of it. So this is also one trend where companies are kind of shifting towards giving more importance to content design as a function rather than just having it as an afterthought. Yeah.
That's very interesting points. Actually, all of you brought up. In fact, the evolution of a designer's role, right, from almost being like outsiders, being given requirements to do something, to having a seat at the table. That's a big sort of evolution that has happened over the last few years. And if I were to follow up on that question, if I was a sort of a young designer, one of the young designers sitting in this room, and I was starting out in the industry today, what would be the best way for me to get your attention in terms of things that should go in my portfolio, or things that shouldn't definitely go in my portfolio, the red flags that I should be careful of?
Great. Great source. Okay, so I think we're actually hiring a tractor right now. And I think one of the things that I keep looking for, right, and I think as designers, we're so excited about showcasing our craft in that 45 minutes that we get, right? We'll also ramble a lot when we're trying to communicate what we're trying to tell the person at the other end. I think, can you explain to me your struggle to your success story with impact in a succinct manner, right? I'm just framing this as I'm speaking, but I'm thinking that if that can be achieved in the first 15 minutes of the conversation, you have my attention. Along with all of this, there's end-to-end design process. Of course, that's something that we look for. I know that in the real world, you may not get to do the design, end-to-end design process all the way, being a part of the proposal or the RFP, to the discovery, to the designing, to the deployment. You may or may not get to do that in reality in every problem-solving sort of problem. But can you show that to me quickly? Another thing, can you articulate your design decisions quickly with impact? Because I think a lot of designers will say, I did this great feature, or I did this great micro interaction. But I'm asking you, what did it do for the business? Did it make that user's life faster today, right? So if you can sort of communicate these 2-3 things very fast with your portfolio, of course, your portfolio is going to be the sort of holy Bible in that sense, because we typically look at a portfolio before we meet the candidate in most cases. And then the portfolio, what you're going to communicate is only going to sort of augment what you've already shared with me, right? So yeah, in a succinct manner, can you go from struggle to success to impact?
Like get to the point really fast.
Yes.
Jay, what do you do?
I mean, just to add on to that, I think in a day you're taking about 10 interviews. I think you need to run through it. So anyway, just, I have got three different points on this. One is obviously your portfolio is your identity at that given point of time. So I would only say that it's your personality that comes out of the portfolio. You want to showcase something which is more towards the business, towards the design, which is in the new age and how it looks. So I think your portfolio needs to be crisp, needs to be shorter, needs to be precise and showcase your personality to it. Maybe it's something like how you design your portfolio, maybe some people are starting using motion as a one. It comes across pretty decently well. It's systematic, it shows what you do, and motion has a lot more to do with it anyways. I'm saying generally that's your personality, so how you put that across is very important. Firstly, to get scanned through in some sense. Don't give me word docs, and that's the worst part of the design. So please do not have word docs around. Second thing is that when you're in a meeting or in an interview room such as that, you have to think about what are your USPs as a person, what you bring to the table, and talk about those. I mean, obviously you will go through projects, you will go through the regular bits of it, but obviously she's covered that, I'm not going to cover that part. I'm going to add on and say, what are your USPs as a person? Are you good at the present data? Are you good at, say, UI? Are you good at UX? Are you good at problem solving? Are you good at, say, micro animation? Whatever that could be. What are your USPs as a person? Bring that out of the table. Say, I can, as a person, when I come to you, I can do this X, Y, Z for you. And these are my qualities and abilities that I think the company needs, and I can deliver to that matter. So, like, you're filling in the gap exactly as I want it to be, so I think that's perfect. Last thing I would say is the motivation factor. Like a lot of people come on the interview and go on and on, like monologue the speech probably. But I think, yes, you're trying to showcase what you have in short amount of time. I completely get your points. But I think what happens is a lot of that motivation of coming here, or coming to the job role, the zest of learning something, that needs to be showcased out of your interviews or whatever. So you might not know a lot more. You might not know some fundamentals of safety management. I really don't know. The point is that I know that when you come down here, you will be 100% putting your effort to learning that job. So I think there are people who learn on the fly, the people who learn and come, but I think the zest is important. So you might not know how to present to business or stakeholders or whatever that may be. But as long as you're willing and showcase that zest on the interview, I think that's perfect. So I think these are the valuable points for us to all of you guys. Over to you.
Good. So I'll start with someone who's starting off, right? So let's take freshers, right? I think one struggle that they have always had is how do we showcase real world problems because they haven't gotten the opportunity yet. So I feel for freshers, at least what I look for is the ability to observe gaps, find gaps in real world, right? Even though that project may not have been a project of an organization, but you could come across real gaps in the products that you use daily. Identify that gap, validate that gap in your own capacity, right? Maybe ideate some solution, and in your own capacity, what you think could the impact be? I think that's something that I look for, which is genuine curiosity and passion for problem solving, and this for freshers. When it comes to experienced people who have at least had 1 to 3 years of work ex, what I look for is, apart from what I see in the portfolio, I want them to walk me through the design decisions that they have taken at each and every point. Also what impact it had. Second, third is how they collaborated to get there. I often hear people say, oh, I did this entire thing on my own. Great, you may have, but you won't reach to the end state without collaborating with your product managers, your engineers, your data analytics, which is the real world. Once you get to the job, you cannot do everything on your own. 50% of your job is to work on Figma, 50% of the time would be collaborating with others to get it done. Right from selling those designs to getting it implemented. So that's something that I genuinely look for. Another thing that I often see, I'm also hiring for my team by the way,
Is there a field going
Yeah. So I have often seen that designers reach to the outcome much faster, and when it comes to building the portfolio, they retrospectively fit that project into a design process, right? Which then reflects the gaps, right? We have been taking interviews for a long time, so we immediately can figure out whether you have actually done that or you are just trying to fit in the process. What I would genuinely suggest is it's okay if you have not gone through that complete process. It's fine if you have missed certain steps, but whatever you have done, those are the things that you need to spend more time on rather than just trying to fit in this ideal kind of design process. That's just my take on it.
I think at least in terms of portfolios and all, it has improved a lot. I remember a time when people used to send us this massive zip folders, or Google Drive folders, which you could never download and view. But I think things have improved a lot.
I've got a courier, like a courier in terms of like where because I mean back in the day we were in print and
Yeah.
so people used to send like posters to all this courier on my road to these streets.
But that's, I mean,
Different revolution, yes. Revolution.
Could I add a point?
Yeah.
I think just as far as portfolios is concerned, right, talking about couriers and zip files, can you make your portfolio really consumable in, again, it's the same short format? Because as design leaders or, attending, I don't know, 15 meetings a day, right, I don't have that kind of time to skim, like, to look through every project. So how do you get my attention quickly? Maybe it's just top 3 projects. I still receive, or I have received emails with 10 links, right? And I'm expected to click through 10, right? I'm going to like, maybe you're going to lose me at some point, right? So I think this is something I say a lot to myself and to a lot of designers, how can you make something very quickly consumable? Because when you're talking to business, right, it's almost an elevator pitch. You have 2 minutes, you have 5 minutes to get their attention. So think about it, even when you're showcasing your portfolio, to put that hero project quickly up, and then everything else can be subsidiaries in some sense.
in fact, that's also a major skill to have as a designer.
Absolutely.
Right? How can you get the attention?
It's a core skill, consumable, making anything consumable, right?
Yeah, I think attention span anyways is dying down now. All the new apps are in, so nobody uses a newspaper anymore. It's like in shots. Obviously, get there.
Now, once, let's say someone has joined your team, right? What do you look for in people to promote, especially when you want to build out larger teams? I'm sure your organizations are growing at this point of time also, right? What do you look for in people to promote? So we can start with Barry.
Okay. Cool. Open spot. So okay, quick things on say promotion. If you're like, I think average is like 3-4 years in the entire ecosystem. So I think the higher you go, the harder it becomes. To be honest, I've tell you by my own personal experience, the higher you go, it's harder to be because the pyramid is like this, and you'll always be one person at the top. There'll be not 10 meetings, you'll always be one. So I think about if I have to talk about a basic starting point where you have to go into a product design like 2-3, I don't know how it resonates in different companies, but yeah, so if you go to 2-3 level, which is mid senior. I think a lot of evaluation comes in how you, there are 2-3 aspects that I personally look at. One is how well presentable are you in front of a lot of folks, in front of your peers, in front of your business, in front of your developers, for that matter. How is your collaboration going on? Second thing is, what have you brought to the table here today? The idea is that obviously when there's a unanimous decision that we take about how one should go up and how one does not want to go up. It's not an individual decision. We deliberate democratically. So I think the point is that when we look at these, there are multiple aspects that you think about, whether the person is collaborating well, whether he is giving his peers enough feedback, or he's mentoring them in some way. What is he bringing exclusively to the table? As I said, your USPs are very important as a person. How do you think your role, and what do you mean for the next level? What do you mean for next level objective? That you want to be promoted, right? You want to achieve that, but you want to take the promotion and then do something at that level people do. For example, mentoring is an aspect. At a junior level, you will be more on IC and not mentor. If you want to go into that, mentorship goes like this. There are 2 different roles and you can talk about that later. But if you say what to do something, say if I only talk about IC today, you're doing IC role, you're doing exclusive projects, but what is the next level have you brought to the table that you think you deserve more than there are 100 competitions around you right today? So what have you done that better so that you can think of, people can see that okay, you have done this better than others. It's not like, I'm not saying that you have to fight against each other, it's a healthy competition. I think all of us in our youth days, we like battled others, each of us out for in different companies. I think that's one of the key things that I would look at. I think, which side do I go?
In fact, I want to sort of tweak the question a little bit for Sangeeta and Shreya. There is one, growth path of being a leader, manager, things like that, and then there is the whole IC track. Some people are more about their craft aspect of their design, right? In fact, the first graphic design lead that we had in China, for the longest period of time, she wanted to be an IC. She wanted to remain an IC. Now, it's a very challenging proposition, right? When you're building out a team, to build out a separate leadership there because of that. How do you do if someone wants to sort of stay on the IC track, that their growth and their career growth is equally valued in the organization? How do you manage that?
So, I genuinely feel that if your organization only has managerial roles, right, then you are kind of forcing someone to aspire to be a manager, right, and they may not want to. But at the end, everybody wants growth. So either you lose out on them because they want to grow and you can't grow them, or you promote them early when they are not ready. This is detrimental to the people that they manage as well as to themselves, right, as an individual. At Dream 11, we have like two very distinct roles of an IC and a people manager. And again, right, when it comes to value, I think as a senior IC, your value is very, very high. India is kind of moving towards that role, but if you look outside in terms of international opportunities, ICs are actually much more valued and even get a higher pay scale, to be honest. So that means I think if you really love your craft and if that's your happy place, and managing people is not easy, right? I think what people most often don't understand is being a manager is not just like having reportees and going to meetings. I think that's something which is very, very critical because at the end, like people's career are in your hands, right? To be a good manager, to be a good leader, I feel you need to be loved by people. You need to inspire and to mentor. You need to be able to collaborate well, right? At the same time, you need to be able to zoom out, look at the bigger picture, not get biased by, let's say, your personal, projects or something. So again, like if only you feel these are a few qualities that you have, you should of course aspire to be a manager. But if like all of this gives you stress and you actually want to be closer to your craft and do your work, we have that bifurcation. So it's very easy for us. We actually recently have people who have moved from an IC managerial role to IC role because that's something that they love doing, right? So I don't see that. I think we are evolving, and companies do have like this kind of distinct roles. So that ways, I think we are getting there in terms of having more and more opportunities, even for senior ICs. For junior, of course, we do have, but at our organization, ICs can go up to like L6, L7, level 6 and 7. So that's like quite experience and like expertise that you have in your niche domain. So that kind of skill sets we value a lot.
Shreya, what else in practical?
I think we have a very clear growth path for ICs, to be honest, at Practical at this point. I think people leadership or people mentorship sort of naturally evolves as you grow. But since you've spoken very heavily about IC and people leader role, I would like to add to the senior IC piece, right? It's very, very crucial at this point, even at Practical. In fact, it's highly encouraged that even as you go higher, you're still actually very, very hands-on. Fun fact, the co-founder of Fractal, Shrikant, he still builds his own decks, right? So when he's making these like big presentations and everything, so it's not like somebody else is doing all that back-end work. I still do a lot of work myself. It's not the easiest, but so I feel like even if you grow, it's not like you can't stay attached to your craft. You have to figure out how to prioritize and still in some form stay attached to your craft. The other piece that I feel when it comes to how do I look at people when I'm promoting them, right? I was just recently on a promotion panel, and I think one of the questions I asked was that whether you want to follow the IC track or whether you want to follow a people leader path, right? And you still want to, and let's say you're on the promotion panel, right? And you want to be promoted. I think how good are you at collaborating? One, I think that's been spoken about, but I'll just talk about what I mean by collaboration. As designers, you're going to constantly have to draw boundaries, right? Can you draw boundaries and still manage that relationship? Can you still build that relationship? And why do I say this? Because at Fractal, when I hire candidates, right, one of the things I say always is that look at Fractal with two layers of clientele. So the internal Fractalite is your first client. And then you have the actual client, right? Because the growth team is still talking to the client and bringing that business in a lot of instances still. So in that case, you still need to win the trust of the internal Fractalite first, right? So you're still drawing your boundaries, but you still want to build that relationship. And it's hard. It's damn hard to be both, right? Because the minute you draw a boundary, that relationship is likely to be a slightly sour, right? But then after drawing that boundary, what can you give them which still makes them feel comfortable to put you in front of the client?
Sorry to add to the same because I spoke on a different domain. But anyways, just saying quickly that I think one of the points I want to mention when you want to choose between an IC and a manager role, I think one of the key aspects is when you go into a manager role, you have to accept what your team needs you as their fullest capacity of design. So you cannot, as a manager, go back and say, "To naturally man, I got a absolutely cannot say that. Because the idea is that you are empowering your team to do it. And you have to accept, at a large level, you have to try and accept what they do. Yes, there will be tweaks around, you can help them, guide them, motivate them to do, or channelize them to do the right thing. But at the point that you cannot just go back and tell the three, that's something that if you can give away that art and say, I'm happy that my teammates grow and stuff like that, then think about being a manager, to be honest. And the last I can say is, yes, proudly I can say I also follow the two principles, IC versus manager roles. And yes, we obviously promote a lot of ICs to grow in the league as well. So I think that's my 2 cents about this.
So now, getting promoted, of course, it's not just about your design skills, right? It's also about your ability to manage teams, manage stakeholder relationships. You're also actually bringing your whole sort of personality to work. Now, in a work from home setup, how does this work? And I really want to know your honest thoughts on work from home, return to office, hybrid models. What sort of team dynamics have you seen in these instances? We'll start with Sandy.
Yeah, I think all of us have been in the work from home model, unfortunately, because of pandemic, so we can draw comparisons. We have actually moved back to office, so we are not completely on site, but we have 52 work from homes a year. So which means if you can take one every week, or you can pile them up and take whenever you need them. But at the same time, I think we genuinely believe in the culture of coming to work. Why? Because especially as designers, I feel working in silo only helps in that very few hours where you need to, let's say, be on Figma or do those deliverables. But even then, how we work at Dream 11 is we work very closely as teams. Like I told you, right, tech, product, design are kind of these equal stakeholders who huddle daily in and out, make decisions. It's a very democratic process. So being on Zoom, it's kind of inefficient, I would say, because as a designer, I can walk up to my fellow designer on their desk and just get a quick feedback. I can just quickly get all of them huddle, discuss something, and then get back to work. But to be able to do that on Zoom is actually, there's a lot of friction, right? You need to look at the calendars, block time, and it's like very formal. I think being on site has helped us a lot in terms of productivity, in terms of culture, in terms of work relationship. I feel we were talking about promotions, right? One thing as a leader that you need to be able to do is, have very strong partnerships with your cross-functional stakeholders. So those partnerships, I feel, is much more productive, fruitful, and possible when we are on site. Also, because Dream 11 has just one office and all of us are in Mumbai, this is possible to do. I understand there are offices across the world like Shreya's is. Yeah, but that's just my take because of the situation I am in.
In fact, that's what I want to get to next. Factual, you have offices almost around the world, and you get designers from all across India, right? Okay. So how do you look at this?
So I think, firstly, when I started hiring in 21-22, I hired everybody virtually, right? And yes, I had to spend that extra effort to build those relationships because it was so virtual, right? I don't know, seeing the box. In fact, the first time I think we met for an office site about, I think 23 or 22, I think May 22, everyone was very awkward socially because we said, oh, we're putting bodies to faces. That sort of became the fun thing, right? Because like nobody knew how tall someone was, or maybe lanky and so on, without body shaming. And yeah, so all of us we suddenly realized how we were, and we were also very awkward around each other because we didn't know what to do with our hands because we've always been on Zoom, right? Like we just doing this much. One of the things is right now it's hybrid, so we are doing Monday, Tuesdays is working from the office in Bombay. However, my team is all over India actually right now, and the person I report to is actually based in New York, right? So I don't know, this company is willing to fly me down every week. There's no way we're going to have like an in-person meeting. So hybrid is working out really well for us. Yes, I also have a lot of evening calls because it's global, right? So unless I figure out the commute and all of that, because I work with US, UK, every time zone possible, right? So it's working out okay. I'm absolutely not negating what Sangeeta said that the collaboration, the bonding that happens in person cannot take away from that. We are all for that. We're just managing right now this and that, and I think we can have this and that and be good with it. We're started organizing a lot of in-person meets in the respective cities where we have more people. That's something we're doing. Another thing we did from culture perspective when we started hiring was, like we didn't know, like she said, right, you could go and block calendars. So what we did was, as a cultural nuance, we said we will, for the whole design team, we said everyone's calendars will be open, starting from the design, like the chief design officer, right? Calendars are open, you can see who's doing what meeting, with whom. It's up to you about what level of openness you want to maintain, right? You want to keep the whole meeting and write open with the subject line, with the body of the email, with who you're attending and so on. So I also keep my own calendar open. People know exactly who I'm meeting, if somebody knows like with whom I'm doing a one-on-one. Everything is pretty open in that sense. We've tried to maintain that. It also helps everyone to know, and we've enabled people to block out their like home hours, right? People are doing home errands and things like that. So it's working out okay. I don't know if it's going to work in the long term, but for now it's working out fine.
And Jay, what about Nika? I think Nika is also pretty much.
So, yeah, I think there are three very different things that one is only Mumbai, one is global, one is only Indian. So I think like I have three offices across Bombay, Yokohama, and Bangalore. I think yes, I have also my teams like some in Bangalore, some in Gurgaon as well. So and some in Mumbai based as well. So I think where I come in, I think from what has happened from the work from home culture that obviously the pandemic has put us back into and made us realize few things can happen. And few things were happening good when you were doing from work from home. Honestly, I think what was happening good was maybe some of the isolation when you needed to focus on, right? You were sitting in traffic when you had to spend 2 hours in bus and traffic. So I think those, and somewhere the design also traveling has got us a little lazier that we don't want to travel anymore. So I think in the traffic days, obviously even I don't feel like traffic to be honest. So, but nevertheless, saying I think once you get past the hurdle of say a travel, which is something that you anyways need to do. So examples, you have to meet some friends and you would be excited to do that travel, right? As same as you have to be for your job. You want to be excited to go back to your workplace and meet your colleagues, meet your friends who will be close with, whatever that may be. And then you can have that, you want to be excited to do that. I think it's a rigorous role, you go back and there's no beers and everything that you get over there, but yeah. But I'm just saying, if you want to have that same enthusiasm that you go out and do. The second thing is when you want to have that isolation, obviously some of the offices provide that, some of the offices facilitate you with say a boardroom or a meeting room or a farmhouse or a good space that you can be more creative as an individual. So I think that is obviously taken care of. The only aspect is travel, which I personally think virtual anyways. I personally believe in a lot of personal collaboration. I think building relationships, I'm a very social person as well, so building relationships is one of my key core fundamentals that I would work with. I would talk to anybody and everybody wherever. I think that's something that I think everyone should do. It helps you a lot in public speaking, helps you a lot in presentations, helps you a lot in every other general, every place that you have to voice your opinions out. So I think my personal opinion is come to work, do the drill, meet your friends, meet your colleagues, have a good collaboration with them. It'll obviously change how your thinking goes in terms of what your design is doing. What you might have thought would be great, but it's not great. Maybe you would have had a different perspective from someone else. I think personally, I believe in a lot of pros there. Yes, there are 2, 3 pros that I identified work from home, but I think some are maneuverable at workplace, and some I think you should just go with the fly and go for it.
And in fact, all of you touched upon this point of collaboration and building relationships across stakeholders. Design as a function works very closely with engineering, product, growth, business, all those functions, right? Now, of course, that means there will be a lot of friction also. There will be cases where the designer probably assigned to a project is slightly junior or mid-level manager, and then the engineering team, the engineering counterpart could be very senior, and there will be a lot of overriding of decisions, the design decisions that were taken by the design manager. How do you guys resolve these sort of conflicts that keep happening? Is there any framework or process that you use that sort of lessens the friction? Friction is good, I believe, because that shows that everybody is trying to make or build a better product. But in terms of purely resolving these sort of conflicts, especially in a hybrid setting, how do you do?
Actually, I will segue into this answer, but I just want to add something to what Jay was saying, which just occurred to me, right? When we're working with clients, typically when the discovery is happening, right, that's the stage when you want to be in the room with clients, with stakeholders, right? So if you're in that meeting with stakeholders, when you're basically at the whiteboarding stage, I think more before the solutioning has sort of begun, even before the wireframing, I think it helps to be in person a lot. Maybe at the solutioning stage it works out well if you're sort of working just behind your screen. So maybe we could look at it as discovery is better when it's more collaboration, you're talking to more people, versus solutioning is more us sort of doing that internal solutioning and then coming and showing it to the client, right? Maybe I'm just thinking about where the collaboration comes out more effectively. As far as friction is concerned, I think yes, friction can be solved better when you're in a room, because I think you see body language, you see how a person reacts, right? You also are a lot more open and vulnerable when you're in person versus when you're behind a screen. As far as resolving conflicts is concerned, I think sometimes you just have to let conflicts happen. I do not believe that a lot, but I try to let it just happen, and then we work towards solving those conflicts, because friction or conflicts, right, whichever. I mean, sometimes they are healthy and they lead to great solutions. I've also seen great conflicts lead to great friendships. It's happened with me as well. So one of the ways is, I think, bring a lot of vulnerability to the table, authenticity as well. What is vulnerability? I think seek first to understand and then be understood, right? Try to understand if the developer is saying something's not possible because it's going to take so much more time. Try and walk into their shoes and understand, right? They're probably doing weekends and you're probably handing off on a Friday and walking out, right? So if you can sort of empathize, I mean, we're talking all about empathy and we're saying where the epitome is of empathy, right? So that empathy needs to come from the people we work with as well. So can you seek first to understand and then be understood? And then if the team is generally struggling or genuinely struggling, right, I think it's great to have an honest, open conversation. Talk about, like, really bring it down to the absolute bare bones, basics, and say this is where the team is struggling, these are our vulnerabilities, people are getting drained out, we really need to solve this. And more often than not, those relationships have actually gone a long way from it.
I just wanted to reframe the question again.
So, when you're working, let's say, in a product organization, right, you have this collaborators, mostly product team, product managers, engineering managers, the business, the group, right? And there is always some sort of friction happening. The business would want certain sort of, let's say it's as simple as a banner. They would want global banners to be on the homepage because that's what converts for them, right? Whereas as a designer, you want to maintain the look, you want to maintain the sort of the brand value and all, at the home page. Just things as simple as that. When those sort of conflicts happen, and engineering is another altogether.
See, I got it. Okay, so I think two perspectives on this one is that yes, I probably, if there's a conflict between multiple teams, I told them into one room. I'm like, you're not exiting this room unless you solve this. It's like a boardroom. So I don't mind you battle it here between everybody, but the conflict of the solution has to be coming out. And obviously, each one of our goals, irrespective of how much hardship a designer needs to face or a developer needs to face versus the business interface, our common goal is to build the app. Correct? Our common goal is to have the app that the consumer needs to use at its best abilities. So, irrespective of wherever the conflict comes from, I personally believe in that's why me being in office it makes a lot of sense. Second thing, I think a lot of these also I would touch upon is your bonds with your stakeholders, your peers and stuff like that. It moves you a long way. कभी people say दोस्त यारी में काम निकाल देते हैं. It's it's actually true, but honestly it does help. Like I will ask a favor to a person who's actually a senior in the team, but he knows me personally as well, and we have a great connection with that. And my work would come to me, irrespective of me pushing it or getting that. So there are times that people empathize with you as well. Like you are trying to push something, they're trying to push something, they empathize with you as well. But I think a lot of that factors come into play when you are in person. So I think collaborations and stuff like that helps a lot to solve these kind of conflicts. When it comes to business mindsets, correct? I think obviously everyone needs to make money. You're making money, they need to make money so that they give you money. So it's a cycle. Like you will spend that same money on the same app and come back to you again. So the idea is it's a cycle. So obviously you obviously think of your benefit, okay, I'm better and salary, I need to have that kind of money. Business will think I need to get something. So if you want your show to run, you need to see that there for runs. To be honest. As a designer, you can't say it's too business and I do what I want to break down. So it's obviously a cycle. And when you step into the cycle, you think, okay, that money will come to me in some sense, or will come to all my peers in some sense. So obviously business has a lot of that stake in it. But I'm not saying blindly trust it. Obviously, when I say don't put a banner on the posting, maybe say I'll do this banner in a better fashion where you get higher CTRs on it. And this is my view over it as a designer. And innovate around it. And then if you get, the business wants the CTR, right? So probably if you have an innovation, way to give the CTR time, problem solved. I think that's where you as designers kind of have that power. So personally, I think that there's no conflict to solve.
Sangeeta, I think Dream 11 has one office, so you don't have any challenges getting everyone to one. Yeah, so how does that work?
That puts us in more challenging role because, like I said, right, what has worked for us is when we have engineering, so like I said, TPD, right, tech product design, if they are on the same page from the onset of a project or a feature, things have been very smooth. Where the problem happens when there is misalignment, where there is miscommunication, or people are being looped in way later, right? So when it comes to alignment, what we generally try to do is put everyone in the same room. First, align on what are we trying to solve and what, right, and how. Right? Once we align on the problem statement, then we align on ideas, then we align on solutions. Now, friction may also arise when we are executing on those solutions, right? Let's say this example where the designer wants to do it a certain way, but product is, let's say, pushing it to be done in a certain way, and engineering comes and says, no, we can't do both, right? So here, I think both of them touched upon is empathy and relationship. What I encourage my team is to build relationship with engineers, especially because we are both executioners, right? I think when it comes to artifacts, we both execute, and it's very important to understand each other's domain, each other's feasibility, what works for each other, so that you can advocate for each other, right? We and certain projects we have reached a stage where designers are vouching for tech is vouching for a certain way a design should be. So this can only happen if you understand each other's domain, each other's constraint, right? What are some of the things that matter to them versus us? And what I've also realized is we often say, ki, oh, engineers won't understand design and designers won't understand, code. But what has happened is if you do this regularly, if you keep advocating about design, if you constantly iterate the same thing over and over again, at some point in time, they get it, right? So I think this over communicating things has really helped us a lot, a lot. And again, at the end, as designers, you need to come up with creative solutions. There will obviously be trade-offs. There, I think a designer's life cannot go on without compromises. It's just that where do you draw the line? What kind of compromises do you make? Is this something that's a must-have for you or a good-to-have? Can you let it go? Can you let it go in the next phase, right? These are some kind of conversations that help mitigate friction, I would say, right? And at the end, what I feel is there obviously needs to be like some kind of maker-checker, right? When I say, like, for example, you said this junior designer working with, let's say, senior tech person, there has to be some kind of decision makers who at the end, like you said, I put everyone in a room and then you can't go out without making a decision. Let's say a decision is not being made in that situation as well, then what do, right? You need to know, okay, who is that person that we can go to who can make this decision, and that person has to be an unbiased neutral party. Right? So that's how we actually function in squads, and we have kind of squad captains and vice captains. We take these terminologies from sports, like we take sports very seriously. So we have captains, we have vice captains, and we have coach. So if captains, vice captains fail, then you can ultimately go to the coach to kind of resolve these conflicts. Lastly, I think we do a lot of retrospectives. So anytime we build a feature or we release something, the entire team was worked on it. Tech, product, design, data, PMM, marketing, everyone comes together in the room and talks about what went well, what didn't go well, and what can we improve next time, right? And we take this thing very seriously. Next time onwards, we try not to repeat the same thing so that we encounter newer frictions and not the same old ones.
But this is a very interesting framework. I'm going to use that.
Stop continuous.
That's patented, you can't.
We'll change the names. So, I think the next question is probably a point that all of you touched upon a little bit. Putting out a world-class product, right? That's just only one part of the equation, right? At the end of the day, it's a business. The business has to make money, right? Now, which means that sometimes the business team can probably force design teams to make choices that you might not necessarily agree with, both in terms of aesthetics, user experience, and sometimes even force you to use dark patterns in UX, which has become a very hot topic recently, right? Now I want to understand how do you push back in those instances while not compromising the business that you have to do. And I want to start it with Jay, because you are in e-commerce. E-commerce is a place where it happens a lot.
Absolutely, agree. I think I fight these lines every day. But okay, I think dark patterns are really touch upon to the small one. I think yes, I think a lot of people now understand what dark patterns are. I think most of us have, but there's a strict law that's been come out, and everyone's trying to follow it as possible at least. And obviously, we being an IPO company and a public limited company right now, so we have to have those laws. And so we definitely don't follow any of those. I mean, we don't adhere to any of these dark patterns in terms of following them at all. So we don't follow them absolutely. We make sure that all these dark patterns don't come onto our app in any way. So keeping that aside as dark patterns and topic. When we have to have these conflicts, I think I've touched upon it a bit more. Like I think where business is concerned and we need to function with it, yes, there's always design business. It's consumer versus business. So there's always two legacies that as a designer you're building squash between. So you not to meet in the sandwich. So basically, anytime this happens, you have to have that middle solution outside the given point time. So there is multiple ways where one says, okay, I will do this, and one says, I want this. But you have to have a middle solution out of it at any point in time, and that's where innovative thinking comes into play as designers. Where I think the larger conflicts where business just says, no, if it's empowered with a lot of money, we have to have this at any given cost of point in time. So maybe you choose your battle in the right sense. Where you think consumers will bring more, say, more insights to the entire app or more conversion rates to the entire app. You fight your battles there where you think business will do effectively more than consumers will do that. So maybe you fight your battles there. So I think it's just to analyze, be the balance situation, be the Libra where you carry both sides. So I think, and that gives you in fact more power as a designer, so fairly, I think more power to us, why not?
And Shreya, your space is actually a little different from Dream Level and Meta. Does it happen a lot in in a space like Fractals?
Not so much specifically with dark patterns as such. But can you just
So the other bit about business
Yes,
prioritizing
yes,
conversion and other things
Yes.
over the
So essentially what you're saying is quality in the bracket craft versus speed, right? I think that's the battle we have to fight every single day. I think I try to take, when Jay was talking about a middle ground, I think the way I look at it is negotiation, right? I have a real world problem, right? I will get a call at 8 in the night and saying that tomorrow we have a client meeting and we need a clickable prototype. What am I going to tell my designer in the morning? That like I need 20 screens. Kill me, right? It's going to resign, whatever, right? So how do I sort of solve this, right? So the way I think about it is, and maybe this is something that I've developed with time, negotiation. How do I negotiate well with the business person? I say that, look, I don't even know the problem. So like, what is that wireframe that we're even building and taking to the client, right? At this point, we still need to even understand the problem. Like, it's the first conversation with the client. So what is the point of taking a clickable prototype, right, to them? So the way I think about it is that get into the room with the business and say, let's co-create something together. I think the business also starts understanding the process when you start co-creating with them. It could culminate into building a process map. It could culminate into building a solution blueprint. It could sometimes just be 3 options of reframing the same problem, right? And giving them something tangible to take to the client in that the next 8 p.m. meeting, which is like I'm getting my call the previous night and the meeting is happening the next evening, right? So what can I deliver in 8 hours, which is tangible, which is giving the client that comfort that what about your problem? I understand your problem deeply. I'm as invested as you to solve this as you are today. You're putting your money on the table and I'm very happily going to sort of co-create this journey and this solution with you. So negotiate, right? And that this is the second layer when you reach the client, but I'm saying negotiate with the people inside about what is that deliverable that you can give them quickly, right? Build trust. I think the minute you start giving something tangible, right, the trust starts building.
and Sangeeta, what happens during like IPL times where everybody is like really busy with things?
Yeah, I think it's a very slippery slope, right? These are very, very lucrative ideas, right? And I think here is where your culture plays a very, very important role, right? As leaders, as management, what kind of principles do you have and what do you trickle down to everyone in the team? If your management is in favor of dark patterns, sure, you can fight as many battles as you want as a designer, put your foot down and say, hey, no, I won't let it happen. But at the end, let's say if your super boss comes and says, no, you have to do this, I understand what kind of a position a designer would be in. So at least for us, we have been grateful that trust is something that our people take very, very seriously, right? I think we never would want to play with users' trust. And there have been, situations where I won't say that people are, willingly trying to do dark patterns, but it's just that, indirectly or unknowingly, when you look at something, you realize, oh, this is either borderline dark pattern or it actually is. That's when I think designers play a very, very important role, especially your leads, your leaders, right? And they put their foot down and say, no, this is not something that we are doing. It may boost up your conversion, in the meanwhile, but it's going to hamper your long-term brand loyalty and trust. So that's something we don't play in at all.
Okay, I think let's just do one last question before we open for audience Q&A. This is going to be like a one-line or one-word answer, so when we choose. Now, if you could recommend one tool, book, or resource that has sort of, very profoundly impacted your design philosophy and how you look at design as a career. What is it and why? Start with Sangeeta.
Yeah. Cool. I think there are a lot of resources, a lot of books. One, I think that has personally helped me. I think this is something especially for people who are looking to go into the leadership role, transitioning from IC to manager. I think there is this piece by in Substack.com. It's called Hard Parts of Growth. That is actually a very good read. I think that teaches you lessons on how to be an effective manager and what are some of the things that you need to sacrifice, keep in mind, and hone, and to be able to be a good manager. So that's something. Yeah, I do read a lot of leadership books. That's hard.
I'll come with a perspective where people don't read. Okay, so I'm saying, if you don't read at all, just pick the world around you, pick the things that are next to you, pick the things that are there around you, you can solve those problems, and you can learn from that. I think in a digital environment, you're trying to get everything from reality to that place. And I think everything in it is a learning lesson around you. So how you walk around, how you shop, how you purchase your goods, never new good commerce will come in, so now it's here. So everything around you is a learning lesson, and everything around you you might have certain problems that you might have not even identified for yourself, but there are so many things around the world, and that's the best learning lesson you can have, is see around you, be aware of your surroundings.
Sorry, one more thing. I also do listen to a lot of podcasts. So there is this podcast called The Product Manager. It's actually really good, and it may feel like it's about product management, but they do talk a lot about design and how design can navigate while being in a very good relationship with product managers. So yeah, that's another one.
Sure.
So I think since Jess spoke about observation and since Jess spoke about podcasts, one podcast that I'm listening to a lot of late is called Finding Our Way by it's Jesse James and Peter Molyneux. And there are about 50 plus episodes already. They're interviewing or meeting or talking, conversing with design leaders all over the world, multiple industries. I think they just did some recent one with an Indian as well. Amazing ones, covering like enterprise world, B2C, every possible industry. I think I learn a lot from design leaders and the way they are thinking about their business. Also, my commute to office is an hour, so I usually kind of leverage that time to listen to this specific podcast, Finding Our Way.
Interesting. So, yeah, I think now we are ready for audience Q&A. I think we do have a mic. We'll pass it around. This is your chance to ask some of the big design leaders in Mumbai questions. And please take this opportunity. I think we already have one question.
One job of the communicated one. But yeah, other questions are out there.
Do you have a mic? I think they're on defense, that's probably.
Does anyone have a question?
Hello. Okay, I'm Tejas. I'm working at startup, which is a service-based company, and we have a very small team, like 4 to 5 designers. So my question is currently what I'm facing, like I'm working on a logistic project. So where we had a strict deadline, like we were given only 1 month to design, but and also client also had provided the requirement document. But as we have daily calls with the clients, like he's coming with the new ideas day by day, as the client is also exploring the solution, is the things which are done on Excel sheet and pen paper, he wanted the software to be ready. So the thing I want to ask is, like, client is coming in the daily meeting and daily extending his requirements, and what things I have prepared earlier, I had to maybe completely change on the next day, or some, like I need to iterate. And on this call, my deadlines are getting extended. And as my project manager handling multiple projects, so and that my project manager has fully given authority to me, like to handle the client. But at the same time, more for 5 models to be created in the same project and the same price. So how we should tackle that, and ideally how we should communicate in the polite way, like client is not getting offended and also not escalating my projects.
Yeah, it's like a scope plus a communication problem. What would you do? I mean, I'm sure if at the beginning of our careers, all of us have done some freelance work, right? And this was always a challenge, scope changing over a period of time. So, what would your advice be in this case?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi Tejas, nice to meet you. So Tejas, what you're essentially getting towards a scope creep. It's not just a freelancing, actually it's happening a lot even now.
Even in product companies.
Correct, exactly, right? Everything, I mean, something is outside the BRD and so on, right? If there are multiple stakeholders involved, right, I'd love for you to talk or get, if there is a possibility, since you're the authority or the decision maker here and it rests with you, can you get into workshop mode and say that, looks like everyone's thinking differently. Can we, versus a 30-minute meeting every day, can we do a 3-hour workshop? I don't know that time limit you have to define with their availability, but like a 90-minute workshop is great to get multiple stakeholders in a call and do a mural whiteboarding session with alignment, prioritization, right? Like let everyone speak about, almost give them a magic wand tool and say, listen, everyone seems to be dreaming big. Tell me what everyone is dreaming. Everyone speak turn by turn or somebody's documenting. And after that, right, start putting all those priorities together and say, can we stack rank? I think when you have everyone aligning, right, then that priority will ideally should not change, or it might change and tweak a little bit, but you'll have those priorities listed and documented, right? So then you're saying that, look, we aligned on this, and now we're all working towards this one goal, right? Sometimes it happens that the goalpost keeps changing, and this happens with a lot of internal initiatives, I think. So workshopping works a lot because suddenly everyone realizes that the other end is just stretched and we are just moving in sort of in circles, right? A workshop could work here.
Thanks, practical advice. I think we'll have one panelist answer the question. Any other questions? Yeah. Oh, so many.
Hi everyone, I'm Naina. I work with a fintech as a deputy manager. So when we go and when we get into the senior positions, like managerial positions, most of the time the business-oriented design decisions take high priority or precedence over the design. And as a manager, you understand the scope and the opportunities to be for the improvement in the product or if it is a new product. So in that case, when it comes to delegation and you have a limited resources, so how to deal with that kind of problem? That you have a very limited resource and you know how this can be brought up into design, but your subordinates don't have that kind of expertise and for you sometimes the design takes a backseat because you're growing into the senior positions and nowadays every single day the new trends are coming and you have to sort of keep abreast to those kind of design improvements. So how to deal with that kind of situation?
Okay, can I concise the question for a minute?
Sure.
Okay, so I think you have a business problem, you have your subordinates as a problem, and then business problem is that they have more higher power or leverage, and say this side you have, say your subordinates not being able to understand or time frame as a problem. Right? So I think two things, if I have to address them both differently. Can I also try? Okay, so the idea is that I think when you talk about business is a very different role here as a question. And when they tell you that you need to do certain things, as I said, you need to fight the right battles. If you think if you have a solution better than they can, see, there'll always be an ask. There'll always be an ask from everybody. But as a designer, your job is to give the right solution. The right solution is the key essence of as you're innovative thinking. They could be asked, I want a mountain here today. But what reason, why do you need it, what are those clauses that you need it for, how is it valuable to users and to the business at the same time. You have to evaluate those pointers and then have your certain case on it. If you have to have, you have to battle it out, please build your case on it. Don't just battle because I don't like it, correct? Or users don't like it, but why do they don't like it? What are they bringing us to the table? So I think it's a very rational debate where you have pros and cons from each side, and then you have to evaluate within those. I think that's how you deal with business around. Second thing is when your peers probably have time frame as a point. I think in every case, everyone is stretched. Everyone is stretched. I mean, I have worked for 72 hours non-stop in one particular given career. So I think the problem is, so if someone likes doing their job, right, they will never find it stretched. To a certain point, I love doing what I do. I will never feel stressed about, say, you put me today, tomorrow. I work at 3 in the morning if I feel like getting up and working, I work. The idea is that if you, unless obviously they have personal reasons, they want to go somewhere, whatever, that's your balance to see who works on what. But if someone says, मुझे सिर्फ 6 घंटे काम करना है, he's not a designer. A designer can have breaks in multiple ways because creativity flows in different manners. But if you say, I want to work clockwise, I don't think that is not given as a designer by default. So I think that's why you need to choose the right people on your team probably. Okay, that's it.
One thing I'd like to add there, see, I think you said you are at a senior role where you are kind of leading this project, right? So, as leaders, what our job is also to do is set expectations with our stakeholders. When you know your team's strength and you know their weaknesses, right? So, you should be able to give an estimate of how much by when is possible. So, what you can do is maybe get your stakeholders, and this is a little similar to what you told Tejas, right? You need to sit together and figure out what are some of your must-haves, non-negotiable that you really want in good quality, and what are some of the things that you're okay maybe shipping 80%, 70%, but with an opportunity to improve that later, right? You wouldn't want to build a product and keep it as is, right? With plans of how you're going to improve it the next time. I think this is where your stakeholders and you need to plan things and also tell them transparently. I think this helps communicating things transparently that this is my team size, this is the capacity that I have, and in this capacity, only XYZ is possible. Now you pick what you want, right? I think you can have that conversation, and then, yeah, and then the second, third part is what Jaya and Shreya said.
Since we spoke about transparency, right, I'd like to add is that we, as design leaders or the people in design managerial roles, right, we try to play good cop a lot downstream and bad cop upstream. Sometimes it's okay to bring your team into those conversations with the business and let them hear firsthand, right, what the business is saying. They just need to be exposed sometimes. They could just be shadowing. They don't necessarily need to speak a lot. But even if they just come into those conversations, they'll actually hear firsthand what the business is saying. So that battle becomes a lot easier for you to fight with them internally to align. And of course, what Jay said about building a business case is the first for sure. Like if you believe in something, then and your intuition says this is the right way, then go for it.
I think we have time for one more question.
That's fine, huh? Let's go for it.
Check. Hi. Yeah, so my question is regarding something Shreya said. So I'm Darren. Hi. So something I mentioned was sometimes in a managerial position, you need to draw like a boundary, but you also need to give that person something to kind of maintain that comfortable zone. So my question is a bit of an elaboration of that, where how would, like, let's say after drawing that boundary, the relation becomes a bit sour. How would you go about bringing that comfort back, as well as what if you have to draw that boundary upward to maybe someone that is like managing you, and then that relation goes a bit sour.
I think I just read this by James Clear recently. I think he said that to get value, you have to give value first, right? So especially when you're at a sour point in a relationship, I think you might have to start with giving. I also say this, or maybe say this and it's a little more idealistic, but I do think givers move the world forward. So sometimes you just have to get into that position of giving them something that makes you see value, them see value in what you're delivering, right? And I feel like it gets ironed out because, like I said, great friction leads to great friendship. It just takes longer. It's not going to be instant gratification. You're going to see that much later in the relationship. There have been times when people who are anti-design have turned out to be design champions over a year or two after working with them. But it's a journey you'll have to take, right? It's a long-term relationship that you have to work on.
Jane, want to add on to that?
Okay, I mean, I can just add a quick short note. I think we'll obviously have to have, when you have certain kind of boundaries set for people, you would obviously have certain conflicts. Your thinking versus somebody else's thinking is pretty different. But what comes to the end of the all is that the goal of both. What is your goal versus his goal? If it's a battle professionally, it obviously has to have a goal around, right? So maybe you want to do A, he wanted to do B, but the idea is, can A and B become A plus B in that sense? Can it? If it can, that's the solution. And when it comes to just having clear boundaries in terms of how much you work and how much freedom you get in terms of all of that, I think as a manager you need to be, as we try and be the right judge. We try honestly, it's not like we have a blanket rule or something. I mean, I don't. But I think you've got to try and give absolute liberty to whoever's working with you, and then start measuring on how they fare, what's going wrong, what's going right, and then maybe build on those stuff like that, you know. So I think, and vice versa, I kind of learn back also from people. It's not that it's a one-way street. It's never a one-way street. I kind of learn back from you guys as well. So I think in terms of how much exposure and to give or not to give, I think both sides. I also get to learn, okay, this person is doing better, or maybe I learn something out of that person, okay, I never knew this, and maybe I transfer and put that somewhere else as a thought. I think it's all about learning curves. Obviously, in every relationship, there are ups and downs. Maybe just take it with a pinch of salt and move ahead.
I'd like to add a few things here. So, I think especially in managerial roles, one size fits all doesn't work at all, right? So, I think what I do is I try to know each and everyone, where they come from, what are their aspirations, right? I even go down to the level where, like, how do they like to receive feedback? How do they like to give feedback? What is their style of working? So I try to change my style with every person. Like, for example, few people, let's say, have their own boundaries, doesn't like to, maybe talk during work, right? Doesn't like to be disturbed. I think you need to respect everyone's, style of working. And it just helps, right? Then you know, okay, this is the person and these are some of the likings and dislikings of this person, and then you act according to that. That has personally helped me a lot, especially in people management, where I constantly keep changing my style with who I'm working with. Yeah. Customized. Yeah.
I think that's all we have.
One last question.
Okay, we'll take one more. That's the last question. I can't see the person.
Hi everyone, my name is Shaili. I'm a design consultant. I'm actually a staff consultant and great panel. First of all, thank you so much, Sriyaman, for the thought-provoking questions. And the question I have is for you, Sangeeta. You said that your team has two categories. First is IC, and then you have people managers. So for someone who is a staff consultant, and the next steps for me is either going to be a principal consultant at a management consulting firm where I excel in my IC, or either I become a manager, that is the people manager. So for me, the USPs I bring as a person is like I excel at the first two areas of design, the pillars, that is RFPs, the proposal sections, and the discovery. Regarding deployment and design, not so much. So for somebody who has this skill set and who is planning her next career move, either to a consultant, either to a principal consultant or a manager, I love strategies. I love creating product roadmaps, but I don't like to manage people. Being there, done that for a product like startup, didn't like it. So what do you suggest the next path for me would be?
So, just like to clarify a little bit, when I say people manager and IC, to be honest, ICs also do have to mentor people, work with people, manage stakeholders. It's just that they are not responsible for people's career as such, right? One thing with IC is that as in when you go become more and more senior, right, your craftsmanship is something that has to be like bang on, right? It has to be your A game. Apart from that, you also need to be like really good at managing expectation, like planning things and all of that. If strategizing discovery part is something that you enjoy, I would want you to ponder upon the managerial bit, because to be honest, we just have two paths, right? Either IC or managerial.
Actually, my friends have been suggesting that there is a third part that's called product management.
Oh,
So I just
yeah.
wanted to get an idea.
In product management as well, there is a lot of stakeholder management. There, I think they do a lot of stakeholder management, even more than designers, right? You need to set expectation with multiple people. Let's say as a designer, you only are working with data, product, engineering. There you would have legal, finance, marketing, and number of stakeholders, right? Also with product, you need to also think about if you have that kind of business acumen. Plus, people management, I don't think is only like niche to design. You will have it there as well. Like product managers do have people manager even early in their career, right? Right from product manager, senior product manager onwards, they have people under them. So I don't think it's an escape from people management as such. But if you like working with people, if you like strategy, maybe you could see what are some of the things that is not working for you in people management, right? And see if those are some of the things that you eventually can come around, or is are those like non-negotiables. Then I think a process of elimination here would be more helpful rather than selection.
All right, sure. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
All right, I think that's all we have time for. I want to thank all the three panelists, Sangeeta, Jay, and Shreya, for this wonderful, wonderful discussion. It has been really insightful. I've taken a lot of notes based on your.
How many of you have taken notes?
Yeah,
No, man.
but yeah, it's a good habit to take notes. So I've taken a lot of notes. I also want to thank the wonderful audience. You have all have very insightful, questions into how these design leaders think and build out their teams. And I'm sure you can catch them, after this panel discussion. And thank you for having me, Suraj, and the Friends of Figma team. Thanks a lot.
Thank you
Thank
very
you so
much.
much.
Thank you for being a lovely audience. Thank you so much for listening to us. And hope to see you guys around. Well, I should keep from my end. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Perfect. A huge round of applause again for the panel. And I have seen a lot of people taking notes as well, so kudos. I think when we were discussing on how to go about the panel, what we felt is that there's a lot of discussion of AI and other things around, but it's better that we talk a lot of your general things around your career and portfolios and all the other things that the panel has spoken about. But I know for a fact there's another thing which is very important in life, which is food. And I know we are running a bit late on agenda, but we'll cover up. So food is above. You can start going one by one and have a queue. We have something for you at the top. Most of you can be accommodated above in the cafeteria. If there is no space, feel free to take the chairs on the left or right. But that's it. We'll see you at 2:30, bang on time, hopefully. So have fun, and I will see you soon.
You better go, you gotta die. You run, you fight it away, so then I'll come on that ride. Last chance, you ready to tango, this your last game. You ready for demo, subscribe, ready to back to me. Yeah, I'm here with you.
अरे सर ये लाइट्स थोड़ा डिम हो सकता है क्या? वो लोग बोल रहे थे उनको आँख में लग रहा था। चलेगा? मुझे तो समझ नहीं आता आप ही देखो। पॉज कैसे करते हैं? लाइव स्ट्रीम पॉज कैसे करते हैं? लाइव स्ट्रीम पॉज कैसे करते हैं? वो नहीं कर रहे हैं, वो प्रॉब्लम हो गया उसका तो।